Today we're finishing the Maimer Tzenrena for the Dach Yomi. It's on Daf Ches, Amud, Gimel, and Dalid, the top half of the page. So that's we're finishing the Maimer. We spoke before about the pasuk Tzenrena v'nos Sion b'melech shleimai ba'atar asher itloi imoi b'yom chasanosav yom simchas liboy. That the idea of B'nai Sion, that the neshamas in Gan Eden should come down and into this world and doing Torah mitzvahs, and through that they connect to Hashem through the idea of Yom Chasanosai and Yom Simchas Liboy. So we said Yom Chasanosai is a Mount Torah, that's connected to the giving of the Torah, that's like a chasana. And we said Yom Simchas Liboy is connected with the binyan, with the building of the Beis HaMikdash. So we explained before the idea of why the avoid in the Beis HaMikdash and the avoid of davening is like the heart. That by davening, just like in your heart, all the blood from the body comes into the heart, and from the heart it comes back into the body. Then when it comes into the heart, it gets new life from the brain, and from the neshama, so that it gets new life back into the body. And the same thing by davening, a person comes to love Hashem, and then that love gives them a new life and excitement in the Torah and the mitzvahs they do throughout the day. And the same thing in Malchus of Atzilus, that it comes to create the world and give life to the world. So it makes a birur, it makes an elevation of all the physical and created beings, that from their service of Hashem, and that's called birur klipas noiga, that the sparks of holiness which are in the created beings become elevated back into Malchus, and then when Malchus returns to Atzilus, it gets a new life to bring it down into this world. And so that's why it's called the heart. So the Alter Rebbe will finish explaining why this is called Lev, why that's connected to the Beis HaMikdash, and how this explains the pasuk Vayisatzev el liboy, that it says that Hashem was sad that He created man, because since man sinned, He wanted to destroy man. So it says that Hashem was sad in His heart. So we want to explain what does it mean He was sad in His heart. So that's where we're going to end off explaining the two ideas of Yom Chasanos and Yom Simchas Liboy, which is Mount Torah and Binyan Beis HaMikdash, and what's the explanation of the pasuk of Vayisatzev el liboy. He says, "B'yom chasanos is a Mount Torah, kvar mavur l'mayl. Hatam shnekar b'yom chasanos sheyam shachas chach mila moicha chulu. V'zeh mislabish koyach hataynik shupni misaratzen kenal." It says B'yom chasanos is Mount Torah, because we explained before that the idea of a chasana, the idea of a wedding, is that from the essence of the parents, from the essence of the souls of the neshamas of the parents, that's how they're able to create new children, which are new people, something completely new, because it's coming from the deepest part of their neshama, but that deepest part of the neshama is expressed in the highest part of the body, which that's the brain, and it's coming through the highest soul power, which is tainug. That through the highest soul power, which is the soul power of pleasure, and in the highest and the most refined part of the body, which that's the brain, that's where it's drawn, the essence of the parents, into creating children. And the same thing, the essence of Hashem is expressed through the Torah, which is called Hashem's enjoyment, Hashem's pleasure, and it's expressed to us in the physical world, just like children are coming from the parents in a physical manner. The Simchas Liboy zeh binyan Beis HaMikdash pirish psichas halev nikra Simchas Liboy. So it says that the Beis HaMikdash is called "His heart is happy." What does it mean your heart is happy? When the heart is happy, it's called, when the heart is open, when you're able to experience emotion, it's called you're happy. Whereas in Galus, in exile, it's called that the love is sick, which means that a healthy person means that they feel love. A sick person, they don't feel love, they feel like a stone, they feel emotionless. So in Galus, they're called Chelas Ava, they're love sick, they're sick, their love is sick. That the flow of life from the heart to the limbs is not the way it should be. The pasuk says, "Samchuni b'ashishas rapeduni b'tepuchim ki chaylas ava ani." The pasuk in Shir Hashem says that you should support me with a different kind of medicine, which we say means the Torah. That the Torah is healing, brings healing to the world, because the Torah comes from the essence of Hashem, and therefore can fix up the sickness of being in Galus. So now we're going to explain a little bit the difference between tainug and simcha, between pleasure and happiness, and to explain that the Torah and the mitzvahs that we do in this world, we can have simcha, we can have happiness and joy, because we can realize that this is Hashem's will, and through this we're connecting to the essence of Hashem. So even though we don't see it directly, we don't experience it directly, but we know this is true, so you can be very happy. But when Mashiach comes, we're able to experience it, and then not only will we have simcha, have joy, we'll also have tainug, we'll have pleasure in experiencing the revelation of what we're accomplishing through Torah mitzvahs now. So it seems that pleasure and happiness are very similar, based in Yanim Hema, but really they're very different. A person who's rich, he has a lot of money stored away somewhere. He's very happy that he has the money, even though he doesn't see it. So just like the rich man can be very happy about his money even though he doesn't see it, so the idea of happiness means that you could be happy about something even though you don't see it. As long as you know that you have something very special, you can be very happy about it even though you're not seeing it with your own eyes right now. But pleasure and enjoyment is only when you see the thing you're having enjoyment from. Like when a son plays with his child, so his enjoyment is that he's playing directly with his child, that he sees him. Whereas if his son would be far away, then he wouldn't have enjoyment. He would be very happy that he has a son, and that his son is very good, and he has a lot of nachas from his son. But he wouldn't have the pleasure and enjoyment of being close directly with him. And that's why you make a special bracha when you see your friend you haven't seen in a long time. Even though you spoke on the phone with him, and maybe you even say with Skype and all the machshirim, how you do him, but you didn't. Only when you see him begashmius directly, you make a bracha because you have actual enjoyment from seeing him directly. So in our enjoyment and our happiness in serving Hashem, so we can have simcha now in doing Torah mitzvahs, even though we're not experiencing the full enjoyment of the Torah and the mitzvahs, because the reasons, which really means the enjoyment and the pleasure that Hashem has in the Torah and the mitzvahs, is not revealed now. We only perceive what His will, that this is what Hashem wants. But the enjoyment that Hashem has in the Torah and mitzvahs, that we're not able to perceive now. After Mashiach comes, it will be revealed the enjoyment that Hashem has, the infinite enjoyment and pleasure that Hashem has in our Torah mitzvahs. So even now, Hashem still has an infinite enjoyment in our Torah mitzvahs, and we can know and realize that Hashem has infinite enjoyment in our Torah mitzvahs. And so we can have great happiness, great simcha in the Torah mitzvahs we're doing now, even though we're not experiencing directly Hashem's enjoyment. But when we realize that Hashem has infinite enjoyment in our Torah mitzvahs, and there's infinite value and greatness in the Torah mitzvahs that we're doing, we can be very, very happy in the Torah mitzvahs that we're doing now. Just like a rich person is very happy with his money even though he doesn't see it, because he realizes that he has something very, very special. So we realize how special it is that we have Torah mitzvahs, that Hashem has infinite enjoyment in it. So then we can be very happy in doing Torah mitzvahs even though we're not directly experiencing that pleasure. But the Mashiach comes, Hashem's pleasure that He has will be revealed to us, so we'll be able to experience Hashem's pleasure in our Torah mitzvahs that we're doing now. And he says, just like a kiss is when you have a great deep feeling that you're not able to express in words, because it's a very deep feeling, it comes in the kiss. So the deep pleasure that Hashem has in our Torah mitzvahs, which is not able to be expressed in the Torah that we understand now, Hashem will reveal to us in the Pnimis of Torah, this the inner dimension of Torah that He'll reveal through Mashiach. That's called a Hasidic kiss. Beis Hamikdash nikras Simchas Liboy shehaya ha'or gamken mustar ba'aron v'kapayras cholu. So the Beis Hamikdash is called Simchas Liboy. It was very big simcha, because even in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, especially in the time of Bayis Sheni, so they had a great happiness in serving Hashem, even though they didn't always see and experience directly Hashem's great enjoyment in their avodah. In other words, Hashem's revelation was in the Beis Hamikdash, in the Kodesh HaKodashim, in the Aron. But not everybody who was in Yerushalayim, the Beis Hamikdash, experienced fully what was going on. So, but they were all very happy because they realized that this is a very, very special thing. So too, the idea of davening is that you're only understanding about Hashem. You're not seeing Hashem. You're not seeing Elokos directly. You're understanding that Hashem exists, which is called Yedias HaMatzias. This table, you can see the mohos. You can see what the table is. But something in Ruchnius, and especially in Inyan and Elokos, which is a Bligvul, and especially the Orin Seif, which is the ultimate Bligvul, you can't understand what it is. You can't have Hasagas HaMahos. You can only have Yedias HaMatzias. You can only know that Hashem is the real existence, and that Hashem's Orin Seif is Bligvul, is infinite. So by davening, when you have Ava and Yira for Hashem, it's you're getting excited about Hashem, but you're not actually seeing Hashem directly. So that's the idea of being very happy. You're very happy that you have this relationship and connection to Hashem, even though you're not seeing Hashem directly. But since whereas the idea of learning Torah, that's like the chasana. By the chasana, we said that the essence of the parents is expressed in their children. And the same thing, the essence of Hashem is expressed in the Torah that we're learning and the mitzvahs that we're doing. So you're not just understanding about Hashem when you learn Torah and you do mitzvahs. You're connecting to the essence of Hashem when you do a mitzvah and when you learn Torah. So that is actually Hasagas HaMahos. You're actually grasping into the essence of Hashem. Like the Alter Rebbe says, there's no difference how many layers of clothing a king is wearing when you're hugging the king, as long as the king is in that clothing. So you're actually grasping the essence of Hashem when you're through the Torah and the mitzvahs. So that l'chora should be like Tainuk. What's Tainuk enjoyment is when you're actually seeing the thing close up. So in terms of mitzvahs, you're actually connecting to the essence of Hashem. So that should be a much greater Tainuk and enjoyment even by davening. So in essence, it's true. Really, the idea of Torah mitzvahs is this infinite pleasure from connecting to the essence of Hashem. But since it's coming into all these garments, so you're not seeing directly how this is the infinite pleasure of Hashem. So that's why we're not experiencing it directly. But when Mashiach comes, then we'll see what we're accomplishing through the Torah mitzvahs. Will be revealed the infinite pleasure of Hashem, which is the Torah mitzvahs that we're doing now. And then it'll be the inyan of Tainik. That will be the real enjoyment. So that's what the pasuk says. You should go out and see. Why do you have to see? What is if the pasuk is just saying that the Neshama and Gan Eden should come into this world with the Torah mitzvahs? It could say Tzana Benos Sion B'Mel Shema. What's Re'ena? What are you seeing exactly? It means to say that when you come into this world and you do Torah mitzvahs, you won't see right now what you're being accomplished. How this is the infinite pleasure of Hashem. But you'll see later on when Mashiach comes how this is the infinite pleasure of Hashem. And so if you come now, then you'll get to see later. So now the author is going to answer, what does the pasuk mean? Vayisatziv el liboy. Hashem has said in his heart. You've midrash parshas Bereshit parsha chav zayin. Al pasuk vayisatziv el liboy. Amar Rabbi Berachya. Mashal melech shabana paltin al yidei adrichel roi savalei arvaloi al mai al mi yesh lehiskais loy al adrichel kach vayisatziv el liboy akan l'shonei. The midrash says, pasuk says Hashem was very sad in his heart. So Rabbi Berachya said, a king, he built a palace, and he didn't like it. So who did he get mad at? The one who built the palace. So too, Hashem was upset at his heart. This implies that somehow Hashem's heart made the world, and his heart did a bad job, because the world was messed up. So Hashem was mad at his heart. Silly heart. Why did he make the world like that? So if you learn the Midrash without this Hasidic explanation, this doesn't make sense. What does it mean? Why would Hashem be sad at his heart? It's his heart. How could he get upset at his own heart? You get upset
with your heart. Your heart gets upset.
Okay, but then why is he bringing
your heart gets upset at your heart. At its heart.
Okay. כי ממש נסבר לאל בניין וים שמחס ליבו, זה בניין בית המקדש. המינס מלכוס יסברך נקרס לב, שמנו נמשך החייס לכל איברם. אחר כך חריזים הדמים. מכל איברם אל הלב, כך וכנס חמלכוס חהום מלכוס כל עולמים. שמנו נמשך השפעס החייס לביאה. והוא בכנס ממלך כל עולמים, ואחר כך אוי להייס לסודו סאטה, מביאה לבכנס מלכוס. So Hashem's malchus of Atzilus, Hashem's ability to create, that He wants to be king of the world. So this is called the heart, which means that just like in the heart, the blood comes from the heart to all the parts of the body, and then it goes back into the heart to get new life. So too, malchus of Atzilus comes down to create the world and give life to the world, and refines and elevates the created beings, and it makes a beer in them, and it takes the sparks of holiness from Tohu, which fell into Klipas Nega, into the created worlds, and brings them back into Atzilus to gain additional light, to gain additional new life from Hashem. And then it brings back that new life back into the world. So that's why Malchus is like the heart. ולכן בניין בית המקדש שבו מקריבים הקורבנות שהוא עניין הלוס מן מביר קליפת נגע ונפש הבהמס נקרא שמחת ליבוי שהשמחה היא פסיחת הלב שעל ידי זה המן נמשך מד ומכין לסוף כל מין בין במעלה כל מין. So in the person service of Hashem, how does this happen? That there's this, when a person comes to love Hashem, that's like the blood coming into the heart, that his whole personality is being united in this great love for Hashem. And then that great love comes down to be expressed in the terms he does throughout the day. That's like the blood coming from the heart back into the body. And so that's the regular circulation. And the same thing in Malchus Atzilus. When it comes to make a beer in the world, and the world is acting properly, and the Malchus Atzilus is able to make a beer properly in the world becomes elevated, and it brings those sparks of holiness back into Atzilus, and it draws down new life. So then, that's a proper circulation. That's when his heart is happy. It means that the proper circulation in the heart. Harizel derech mashal k'may sheish chas v'sham kilkol b'ha'ivarim hamanei sivu v'hiluch adam mehalev le'ivarim or me'ivarim el halev chulu v'idei zel lo nimshach gam ken me'merech b'halev v'nifsak ha'kesher chulhu. So, if being happy in your heart means that you have good circulation in your love of Hashem, that you come to have a good proper and complete love of Hashem, which then is expressed in your Torah mitzvahs you do throughout the day. So the opposite is where you don't have a proper love for Hashem, and then you're not getting this life in the service of Hashem. So the same thing in Malchus Atzilus, when the people in the world are not acting properly and they're not serving Hashem, they're not having Betel Hayesh. So then Malchus Atzilus can elevate them, can refine them, and when Malchus Atzilus can make a beer in the created beings, then also can draw down new life into the created beings. So that's just like if there's a problem in the body, that there's no circulation in the blood. So that's what it means he was sad in his heart, meaning he had pain in his heart. His heart, which is Malchus Atzilus, had pain. Why did it have pain? Because the people in the world weren't acting properly, and they didn't want to become this bara, they didn't want to become elevated and refined, and they didn't want that the sparks of holiness should be included in Atzilus and to get new life from Hashem. They just wanted to feel their own independent existence. So therefore, Malchus Atzilus wasn't able to work properly. Hashem's heart had a lot of pain. He had a lot of a big how you call it when you have pain in your heart? What's it called? Whatever. He had Hashem's heart, which is Malchus Atzilus, had this big pain because it wasn't able to be this balance between making a beer in the created, making an elevation or refinement in the created beings and bringing new life into them. Because heartburn? No, it's not heartburn. I don't know. It had the big pain in his heart because the created beings didn't want to become elevated and refined, and they didn't want to get a new revelation of Hashem. And so that's what it means. He had pain in his heart, meaning in Malchus of Atzilus there wasn't a proper flow of life because the created beings didn't want to become elevated. Melachem Parshas Noach. After shehikriv karban uksiv vayach havayas reach anechayach ksiv vayimer Hashem al liboy chulu v'hu al derech mein shenikra binyan beis hamikdash makom karban simchas liboy kanal. And that's in Parshas Noach. After he brought the karban, it says Hashem said to his heart that He's not going to destroy the world. Which that means that they return this spiritual circulation of life force from Hashem into the world, because after Noach brought the Karban, so then there was the inyan of Psichas Alev, that the world became elevated and refined. And so then there could be this elevation from the world into Atzilus, and from Atzilus into this world. And so that's called Simchas Alev, just like in the Beis HaMikdash, that through the Karbanos, the main elevation in the whole entire world. And through that they was able to draw down new life into the world through Machas of Atzilus. So the Karban that Noach brought also made elevation in the whole world, so that there could be new life coming into the world through Machas of Atzilus. So that was how he fixed up the problem of the pain in his heart, was through Noach when he brought the Karban. So just to summarize, we explained 2 points in the Vodas Hashem. We explained Yom Chas Nasai and Yom Simchas Liboy. The davening is called Simchas Liboy, joy in your heart, because your whole personality becomes united into this great love of Hashem through the Hisbonenus you have in Pesukei Zimra and in Kriyas Shema. And then you bring that love into the Torah mitzvahs you do throughout the day. But the idea of Simchas Liboy is the idea of learning Torah, that through the Torah you're connecting to the essence of Hashem. So nowadays, in the few seconds before Mashiach comes, so we're able to have a lot of simcha and be very happy, because we know that this is the infinite pleasure of Hashem, is the Torah mitzvahs. We know that this is the most special thing that exists. But we're not experiencing directly the pleasure in the Torah and the mitzvahs. Only when Mashiach comes, then it'll be revealed Hashem's pleasure in us. And that's the idea of Tzeni Re'ena. We're able to see the pleasure that Hashem has in the Torah mitzvahs. It should be very soon.